Okay, for topic 4, we're going to look at estimation. We're going to do one example where we estimate with division, and then we're going to look at another example where we look at those algebraic expressions that we've done so many times in previous worksheets, okay? So example 4, I've just described it as short answer since we have two kind of different situations here. So for part A, it says estimate 363.967 divided by 34.6 by rounding to the nearest whole number, and then we're going to compare it to the actual quotient, okay? And I'm going to let us cheat and use the calculator for the actual quotient. So you should be like, woohoo, finally, calculators, okay? So let's look at these two numbers. We have 363.967, and we want to divide that by 34.6. But we are told that we're going to round to the nearest whole number and just estimate our quotient, okay? Well, if we're rounding to the nearest whole number, that means we're going to be rounding to the 3 in 363.967 and the 4 in 34.6. So let's look at 363.967. Well, the second 3 is my rounding digit. To the right of that, I have a 9. That tells me that this is going to round to 364. And then when I look at 34.6, the 4 is the rounding digit. To the right of that, I have a 6. That tells me to round up, which gives me 364 divided by 35. Okay, so again, 363.967, is it closer to 363 or 364? It's closer to 364. And then 34.6, is it closer to 34 or 35? It's closer to 35. So let's go ahead and start dividing. So I get 364 divided by 35. Okay? So let's see, 35 won't go into 3, but it will go into 36 one time. So 1 times 35 is 35. We subtract and we get a 1. Drop down the next digit in line, which is a 4. And remember, as soon as you drop something down, you must put something in the quotient, okay? So 35 won't go into 14. We have to say that in the quotient. So we're going to put a 0. So 35 goes into 14 0 times. 0 times 35 is 0. Left with a 14. Well, that's a bummer. We didn't get a 0 remainder. So what do we do? Because we don't have a decimal, so it's not like we have this decimal point and these zeros that we can add to it. Well, guess what? We actually can. We can add a decimal and a 0 after the 364. Bring the decimal up into your answer, bring the 0 down, and then just keep dividing. Okay? So will 35 go into 140? Let's do a little rounding. So 35, 140, I'm thinking it'll go in about 4 times. Let's double check. So 35 times 4, let's see what we get. So I'm estimating that 35 will go into 140 about 4 times. So 4 times 5 is 20. I'm going to keep the 0 and I'm going to carry the 2. 4 times 12, or 4 times 12, 4 times 3 is 12, plus 2 is 14. So that tells me that 35 actually goes into 140 exactly 4 times. So 4 times 35 is 140. We get our 0 remainder. So we're going to say that this quotient is approximately 10.4. That's our estimate. Okay? Now, we need to go, let me type this out on my calculator so I can switch over to the screen. I don't have a piece of paper. 363.967 divided by 34.6. Okay, so let's go to the calculator. For the actual quotient, I'm going to let us cheat and use the calculator for the sake of time. So the actual quotient, we're going to take the regular numbers before we round it. So we had 363.967. We want to divide it by 34.6. And our actual quotient is 10.5192, blah, 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 blah. Okay? So I'm going to say this is 10.5193. I'm going to round it 4 decimal places. So 10.5193. All right. So then we're going to say 10.5193 is the actual. So the direction said round to the nearest whole number, estimate compared to the actual quotient. Well, our estimate is definitely less than the actual quotient. It's not too far off, but it's certainly less. So we would say the estimate is an underestimate. Still pretty close, okay? Not too bad, but still an underestimate, okay? Now for part B, we're going to do that evaluating of algebraic expressions. We've done this in a bunch of worksheets, okay? So remember, when you have an algebraic expression, you want to evaluate it by replacing the variables with given values and then simplifying. So for part B, we have x divided by y. We are told that x is negative 0.035 and y is negative 0.02. So we're going to rewrite this problem, okay, this expression, but we're going to go ahead and replace the variables with their numerical values. So this is equal to x, which is negative 0.035, divided by y, which is negative 0.02. Now we want to divide, so let's go ahead and force our divisor to be an integer. So we're going to move the decimal twice, which makes my denominator -2. But if I move the decimal in the denominator, I have to move my decimal in the numerator, which is the dividend. So I'm going to move my decimal twice, making my numerator -3.5. Okay? So keep in mind when you divide two negatives, your quotient is positive. All right? And I'm going to go off to the side and divide 3.5 by 2. So make sure to bring your decimal up into the answer. 2 will go into 3 one time. 1 times 2 is 2. We subtract and get a 1. Drop down the next digit in line, which is a 5. So now 2 into 15. So I know 2 times 7 is 14, so that's as close as I'm going to get. So 2 will go into 15 7 times. 7 times 2 is 14. I don't have that desired 0 remainder, so let's add a 0 to the end of 3.5 and then keep dividing. All right, so 2 into 10. 2 will go into 10 5 times. 2 times 5 is 10. There's my 0 remainder. So my final quotient is positive 1.75. All right, so there you have it. We've done quite a bit with dividing decimals. Make sure you know how to divide decimals where the dividend is an integer, where the dividend is not an integer. Know how to deal with dividing where you end up rounding because you're not going to get that 0 remainder for a while. Know how to estimate and know how to evaluate. All right.